Well, good evening everyone and welcome to the final race on both F1 2019 and for this season in One Hub Racing. This is the Pinnacle tier. We're at round 10 at the Interlagos circuit in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where I always feel that traditionally the last race of the season should be at this circuit in Abu Dhabi, so it's great that we can finally send off this season around this fantastic circuit. You can see there the drivers now all starting to filter their way into the lobby. I believe we are possibly missing one or two drivers tonight. As for the drivers in the Constructors' Championship, well, that's all sewn up last week. Obviously, Louis confirmed what we all knew that he'd eventually do, and that's be crowned as a drivers' champion. Back-to-back titles in the highest tier event for Louis in One Hub Racing, and with it as well, the Williams team confirmed their place at the top of the constructors' standings as well. So there's nothing to fight for at the front of the field, but plenty to fight for in the midfield and towards the back as well. No one wants to pick up the wooden spoon award. No one wants to be lapped. No one wants to be finishing last in the final race. Sort of a party atmosphere, if you like, really. A lot of these drivers tonight are just going to go out there and they're going to have some fun. They're going to get the elbows out. They're going to try and do some hard proper racing as much as they can, but it's sort of almost like a relaxed atmosphere in this tier. These drivers know that there's not much to fight for now, so they can just go out there, have some fun, have some competitive racing, and hopefully end the season on a bit of a high. Now, we did have one little battle that still needed to be resolved. In fact, it still does need to be resolved, but it has been helped a little bit by one of those drivers missing. Now, I do believe that Rafa is not going to be here tonight, and he's currently in third place in the standings, just 4 points ahead of Midnight in the Red Bull. So if Midnight, and he is here, I can see him there in the lobby, and Rafa's not here, then all Midnight needs then really is a 7th place to jump Rafa in the final standings, pick up third place, and then pick up a nice little bit of prize money with it as well. So we have to keep one eye on Midnight tonight to see where he is in the race, but pretty much if he has to be 7th or above, then he will claim the third place, or an 8th and the fastest lap as well. That's another thing. We'll have to touch on that going into the race. The drivers and constructors standings for the final time I will talk about in a couple of minutes, but first things first, quick shout out to our main sponsor, Next Level Racing. They've sponsored the league now for a little while, and they will continue to do so. Do make sure you check out all their cool gear on their website. They've got seats, they've got stands, they've got sim rigs, they've got everything that you need to get yourself set up to immerse yourself in the sim world as much as possible. They're a great partner to the league and the website as well. They do offer prizes as well. The championship winners all get themselves a nice little race stand as well, which is worth quite a few quid. So there are prizes that the sponsor do offer us. So rather than just giving them a bit of a plug, they do help the league to expand and progress as much as possible, and we're very thankful for their continued support. Now then, before the race, of course, it's traditional that all the drivers head into the press conference then before the race, just to put some questions, have some questions put to them and they can answer it. Going through the forum, it looks like the only driver that actually put up something was Skeven in the Alfa Romeo, and he's basically said that's it. He's had enough of being bullied off the circuit this season. Of course, he joined only halfway through and he struggled to find his feet, so he's going to get the elbows out tonight. He's going to push as much as he can to try and end the season on somewhat of a high. He doesn't think that he can really fight for too much in the standings, being so low down, or the team itself, but he said keep an eye on his teammate Thomas. He's very quick in qualifying, as you've seen last few races. He's been regularly qualifying inside the top 5, and Thomas could spring a surprise with another podium here tonight as well. So the Alfa Romeo team has something to go for, and certainly Skeven is going to get the elbows out and try and push as much as he can. So just looking at the lobby then, we are missing just a few more drivers. We're missing one of the Mercedes drivers, that's Danny. So Danny Moreno's not in here yet, not too sure if he's racing or not. We're also missing the second Red Bull. We're missing one of the Renaults, and of course we are probably going to be missing Rafa in the Williams as well. So it looks like some people are getting a bit impatient, wanting to ready up and get to the track as soon as possible. Hopefully it's dry conditions tonight. The podium tier had a full dry qualifying and race session, which is very, very rare for them, and hopefully we'll get full dry tonight as well. It's pretty much about, I think you're looking at something like a 108 around there in qualifying, 107, 108, maybe something like that. So it's a very, very short lap round here, very similar to Austria as well, 36 laps, and I'll be expecting these drivers to be battling around pretty much most of his corners. There's a few good overtaking opportunities, obviously into the first corner and into turn 4 as well, with 2 DRS zones here, both with their own independent areas as well, so you can expect plenty of overtakes at that point of the circuit. It's also very important for the drivers here to make sure you are in a tow and you are following drivers around, because if you're sort of on your own, then you will be stuck in the middle of nowhere. So don't be surprised, like Austria, that we'll see some good pack racing tonight as well. Cars with 5, 6, 7, 8 car lengths trains being formed around the circuit. And of course, with the runoff areas being, there are some runoff areas. Don't be surprised though to see a virtual safety car or a safety car or two. They always seem to appear at Brazil with it being such a, I think the way the track layout is and the fact the cars are so close together as well, that sometimes accidents do happen. They can happen, they have happened, and they probably will happen tonight, so don't be surprised to see a full course safety car. If it does come out, of course, we could see some drivers jump into the pits coming off of strategy, but I'll be expecting the softs and the mediums to be the two tyre choices around here. We might see some drivers start on the hards or even finish the race on the hards if they decide to change strategy, but if it is dry, softs and mediums will pretty much be the way to go. So 16 drivers then will be taking part in the Pinnacle tier for the final race, which is the league did ask all drivers, try and make yourself available for a bit of a send-off. Both the other tiers pretty much had a full grid, so we've only got the 16 here at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. Louis won't care, he's gunning for another win, and I do believe that I'm not too sure if it happened in the precision tier, but certainly in the podium tier, Eva Hannon, the champion in the podium tier, elected to not qualify and start at the back of the field and tried to do a bit of a last to first challenge. I do believe that Louis might be doing the same as well, so he might go out early to do a bit of an outlap and get the setup locked onto the car, and then he might decide to not bother setting a lap time and start at the back of the field. But it's nice to see Paris back. He's been missing quite a few races this season, to be honest with you, but at least he's turned up for the final event, and we'll have 16 drivers tackling this circuit in the 18-minute qualifying session. So here we are then. It's a little overcast, but it is dry at least, and the 16 drivers will be happy to see that. Anyone out there that is in the stream at the moment but can work out or find out or tell me what the weather's going to be like for the rest of qualifying in a race, it'd be very much appreciated. It's always nice to know. Unfortunately, I can't see or tell, and we'll be awaiting the first driver to come out on circuit. So keep an eye on the, I mean, yes, of course, the championship is all but over and done with, and we've only got the 16 drivers here tonight, excuse me, but do keep an eye on both of the racing points of Scott Bugner and Ash Best. They're both very evenly matched on pace, and Ash has been qualifying quite high up the order the last few races as well. And it looks like then that Cohen in the Toro Rosso will be the first car out on circuit. Both the racing points, I believe, are coming out just behind as well, which is all too common. The racing points like to get out on circuit nice and early. It does look like then that both Ash Best and Scott Bugner are out there at the moment. So this is a very short lap here around Brazil, but it's a very enjoyable circuit. Quite a lot of people, including myself, quite like it. The wing setups around here, well, I mean, the downforce, I mean, it's a difficult one to play. Usually for me, traditionally, I'll go for a more sort of medium to higher downforce setting, just to help me around this section here that Cohen's currently tackling. But then again, there's other people out there that decide to go for a low downforce, mainly because the two main straights leading down to turn 1 and turn 4 provide the best overtaking opportunities, so you want a higher top speed to try and complete that move. So it's a difficult one here for the drivers to work out. The weather, of course, does play a part in it as well. And coming then, just taking a wide line into Joncal, the real final corner, and then the blast up the hill. Foot full on the throttle here, gaining speed and lap time every second. And the Toro Rosso will be the first driver across the line, so we'll stay with him as he takes us for the first hot lap around this circuit in the qualifying session. Louis still in the pits, but he might remain there for the whole session. He might come out just to lock that setup in for one out lap. I'm pretty sure that Louis will be starting at the back as a bit of a last to first challenge. With nothing to fight for, everything done and sewn up, why not have a bit of fun in the end of season race? So coming then, now through sector 1, coming through turn 5 up to the Ferradura corner. A long right hander here. It's almost like a double apex corner. Then straighten up the car and exit. He's invalidated. It's one place that's very easy to invalidate around here. The other big talking points, well, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 as well, to be honest. If you take too much curb on the inside or even run wide coming onto that back straight, very easy to invalidate around here. So don't be surprised to see quite a few invalidations out there. Scott Bugner now on a flying lap, purple in sector 1 for himself, as you would expect, because it's the first time he's been through there. Ash Best is just coming through Joncal now, so I think he'll be the first car really to set a lap time here. Current obviously invalidated. Good evening to everyone slowly filtering away into the stream. I know, of course, the precision race is still going on for the moment. And Ash Best then takes the first lap time. So, provisional pole so far, 108.204. And that's immediately eclipsed by the Ferrari of Zach, 108.171, and then Larkin goes a little bit quicker, 200ths quicker for that, and then Westy as well goes a little bit quicker, getting very close to the 107s already. So Ashbest was first and immediately down into P4. Parisen, he now comes across the line to start his flying lap. We've got both the Haas drivers of Harry and Hamilton out there as well, as Harry and Norris is just coming up to complete his lap. So we'll see what this Haas driver can do on the soft tyres. Hugging the inside line. It's a very, very shorter line to the, very short line to the finish line. Just gain maybe a couple of extra hundredths just by doing that. And Harry just yeets it across the inside to turn 2. But fast lap completed. P5 at the moment, a 108.189. And Thomas then in the Alfa Romeo. Skeven said, keep an eye on his teammate. He could spring a surprise tonight. He's straight away into the 107s with a 669. I do apologise. And Midnight just best part of about 7 or 8 hundredths away from that, a 745. So the Red Bull immediately up into P2. So half the field have set lap times. Whereas Paris and all this, he's just coming up to Jean Cal. This is probably, I feel anyway, the most important corner on the circuit, because if you get a really good exit and manage to get the traction down really nicely and build up that speed nice and early, then you're going to be gaining so much time along this long curving main straight with the DRS as well. Over to the left hand side for the slightly shorter run to the line, and the Paris then his return, if you like, into one hub since he's missed most of the races this season, puts that Mercedes up into P3. Other drivers have yet set a lap time. Lakitu has invalidated. Oli Flavel has invalidated as well. Everyone else yet set lap time, still in the pits. So most of the field have set a lap time so far. Thomasen on provisional pole with a 107.669. 2 other drivers, Midnight and Paris, in the 107s. Everyone else in the 108s. Hamilton a 109.588. Oli and Lakitu, I feel, will be back into the pits. Unless Lakitu is going for another run, but he hasn't got a lot of ERS, and he's fiddling around with the setting as well. So I feel this is, and he's lifting off the throttle as well. So Lakitu will be back into the pits. Paris, we know, is on an in lap as well. I don't believe Hamilton is on a flying lap note as well. So Cohen's back out, invalidated his first run, dove straight back into the pits. Fresh set of soft tyres. I'll be expecting everyone out there to set their quick laps on the soft tyres. Hamilton did his on the mediums, which is why he's in a 109. So to be honest, it's not a bad lap really, a 109.5. But of course, with these conditions looking nice and clear, then I'll be expecting the track temperature and the air temperature and the track grip to steadily increase as the session goes on. Everyone knows that if you're out there at the end of a session, you've got a better chance at a quick lap time than if you do it in the middle or beginning of the session. That's just the way that the track surface evolves. More cars go out there, lay more rubber down, the track gets faster and grippier. So coming in. Now coming round to start his second flying lap. Scheming just momentarily coming in the chat saying, I cannot wait to see the back of this Alfa Romeo. Yeah, of course, these cars in multiplayer, when you set them to equal or balance, or however you want to call it, they're sort of moulded to take the characteristics of the fastest car in the game, which of course is the Mercedes. So all of these cars essentially are in Mercedes. They're just different liveries on there as well. But some of these cars do have slight little handling difference in characteristics. That's the way it's been over many, many games. Some cars have been ferociously bad to handle, others have been absolutely brilliant, and it also comes down to driver style as well and driver preference. Some people are late breakers, some people are early on the gas, it doesn't matter what it is, and sometimes the car that you're assigned to or the team you're assigned to for whatever reason just doesn't work for you. I've driven cars before, I've driven Racing Points and Alfa Romeos before, and I felt they've been fantastic. I've driven Williams and Ferraris and felt like they handle like a dog really, to be honest with you. So Skeven's obviously struggling with the Alfa Romeo, but I'm sure that he'll be back next season all guns blazing with a new car challenging for podiums and wins. So Cohen then has kept it clean so far on this lap. Purple in sector 1 and sector 2 for himself, and now have a long run up the hill through the final couple of kinks and over to the left hand side then, and Cohen's first lap time finally managed to get it on the board, good enough for P9, a 108.215. His teammate White Fountain yet to set a lap time. Louis meanwhile still in the pits, that we'll be expecting. And the Toro Rosso boys, well, in the standings then, might as well talk about it as we've got a little bit of a lull at the moment. Louis, of course, all confirmed, everything is done, nothing to fight for, 196 points. So if he wins tonight, he could be looking at around about the 220 mark, which is an astonishing record considering we've only done 10 races. Danny's not here tonight for whatever reason. He will be confirmed in second place on 132 points. So we've got a big battle for third between Rafa in the second Williams, who's not here tonight. He's on 89. Midnight in fourth. The only other person that can challenge him in the Aston Martin Red Bull is on 85. And we've got Toxic Tomato in the second Red Bull. Great season that Toxic Tomato has had. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight either. He's in fifth on 63. Then down at the bottom five, Cohen in the Toro Rosso in 16th place in the standings. He's on 5 points. Scott Bugner in the Racing Point, who only joined halfway through this season here. He's in 17th on 4 points. Larkin is on 3 points. Hamilton in the Haas is on 2 points. White Fountain at the bottom of the order. Louis then out on circuit at the moment, slowly touring around. He might go for it, but I'm expecting him to probably start the flying lap but back off, or just come straight back into the pits to lock that setup in place. So the constructors standings, that's all confirmed as well. Williams confirmed champions, 285 points. Again, a very, very high amount. Louis is going to attempt another lap at least. So Mercedes in second place, 174, that's confirmed. Ferrari in third, 110, all but confirmed. Aston Martin in fourth on 92. Then it's Alfa Romeo on 71, McLaren on 70, so a nice little battle there between them two. Racing Point in 7th on 52, Renault in 8th on 37, the Haas team in 9th on 30, and the Toro Rosso team at the bottom of the standings on just 6 points. Those drivers have really struggled this season. So on board then with our new champion, double champion now. He's won the title in the last 2 seasons. I've known Louis now for several years on this game. I spoke to him plenty of times. And he is an astonishingly quick driver, an astonishingly quick pad driver as well. I should say that he's not on the wheel. He is on the trusty PlayStation controller, which does put some of the wheel users to shame a little bit. He knows all the tricks of the trade. A bit of an alien at this game is Louis. And I think there he's made a mistake, or he's just backing off. I don't expect this to be a completed lap. Certainly won't be a competitive lap. And I think that Louis will probably duck into the pits. He's going to complete it at least. Oh, we've got a bit of lag there. What's going on? And Louis has gone for it. Okay, so then the information I was sort of told, and we're getting quite a bit of lag there from Louis. Hopefully it's not the same for all the other drivers. So the information I was sort of told there was that Louis was probably going to be starting at the back, but he's decided, screw it, I'm going to take pole position instead, and that's exactly what he's done. So that's made me look a bit silly, hasn't it? 3.5 tenths clear of Thomas in the Alfa Romeo. Midnight in third, Paris fourth, Ashbest up into 5th place. Lakitu, Skeven and White Fountain yet to set a lap time. But here's Lakitu, 51.597 in sector 2. And now all he's got to do now is just make sure he opens up that DRS and just run it to the line. So one Ferrari in 8th in Zach. Where's Lakitu going to put his Ferrari? Is it going to be close to Zach? It's going to be just ahead, about a tenth and a half ahead, up into P6. Skeven sets his first lap time, a 1 minute 22. I really hope that's not a competitive lap time from you, sir. White Fountain also sets his first lap time, good enough for only P14, a 108.659. All drivers then have set a lap time. Just under 7 minutes left of this session. So the Kisu's come back in the pits. Westy at the moment, he's now coming round. He's a 10th down on his previous best. So if he gets a good run out of Juncal, he might have an opportunity then to claw that 10th back. And I think he's given up because his ERS is turned off, and indeed the Renault driver comes into the pits. Harry has invalidated. Cohen then back out again. We've seen quite a lot of his Toro Rosso driver in the qualifying session. He's marginally up in sector 1, 100th of a second. Scott Bugner in all this, I believe, is now on a flying lap. Indeed he is. So we'll jump on board with the Racing Point. He's nearly 800ths up on his previous best as he comes through the Ciudad del Lago, turn 4. Now through the kink of turn 5 and up to the pretty much double right-hander of Ferradura. And again, you want to clip that apex just on the second part of it. Heavy braking for Laranja, the first of the 2 heavy braking zone right-handers in sector 2. And now through the left-hander of Pinnacle. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names, I'm trying my very best. Now to Pico de Pato. And again, you want to be very careful of the traction coming through here as well. It's very easy to spin up those rear tyres. Now from Mergulio, the very pretty much flat left-hander. And now Juncal again. You want to be careful of that inside and outside curb. A little bit of snap oversteer there. Totally expected off that off-camber corner. And now then you want to be curving all the way to the left. Open up the DRS. The shallowest line to the run to the line. And Scott Bugner does improve. P10, 108.129. But he's still a couple of attempts away from his teammate. Another strong performance from Ashbest in qualifying, up in P5. Thomas as well, up into P2. Skeven coming back into the pits after completing his now first proper lap, a 108.143. Cohen then, I believe, is marginally up. It looks like in sector 1. I think he's going again, actually, so he might have invalidated or not improved. So Cohen certainly pumping in the laps in this qualifying session as the timer now runs down to just under 5 minutes left. Ollie Flavel, of course, who mid-season got dumped by Red Bull and was driver swapped with Toxic Tomato. A fair swap, I feel. Tomato really has had a strong season. The first part with McLaren and then coming up as well into the Red Bull team. And Cohen then comes across the line. P7, sir, for you in the Toro Rosso. You'll be very happy with that. Into the 107s as well. That's a very, very good lap there from Cohen, all things considered, how much he struggled this season. And I think he's going to be very happy with that lap time. He should have enough time to get back into the pits and come out again, such as the fact it's such a short lap round here. So Westy then, he now starts his next flying lap. We've got Harry and Ollie Flavel out there on out laps. Cohen's on an in lap, so no one else really to look at. This is the sort of lull that you get now towards the end of a session as the majority of the field make some fine tweaks and fine tuning their setup, getting on a fresh set of soft tyres, making sure they've got the fuel that they need to get round. But there's always a couple of drivers out there that take advantage of the clean air. Westy's doing exactly that. P9 at the moment in the Renault, the only Renault that is here tonight. We've got one Williams, we've got one Red Bull, we've got one Renault, and I believe we also just have the one Mercedes. Yes, we do. So Westy then, halfway around this lap at the moment. Seems okay. It doesn't seem frighteningly fast, but certainly the car looks like it feels planted. He's 2 tenths up on his previous best. He's got the fake purple sector in sector 2. There's a car going slowly just ahead of him, but I don't think it'll affect him too much. So Westy could be on here for getting inside the top 5 if he's managed to nail this run to the line. Over to the left hand side, and Westy then P7, a 107.875. He lost a couple of hundredths coming out of Jean Cao. So Westy then up into P7. That'll pretty much, I think, be his session over, unless his team managed to do a very, very quick turnaround. So the guys at the back of the field out early: Larkin, Scott Bugner and Skeven. Then we've got Harry B and Ollie Flavel at the moment as well, who I believe are supposed to be on hot laps, but I think Harry's backed off and now he's going to be starting his hot lap. Olivo is on a hot lap now. We'll see what his first sector time is like. Sector 1, sector 3 very short here, and then pretty much 3/4 of a lap is taken up by that sector 2. So Ollie then half a tenth up in sector 1. He needs to find a bit more if he wants to be troubling the top 10. He needs to find best part of about 3/10 of a second, I think, really, to get himself comfortably inside the top 10. Jump on board of the McLaren here. Very slow there out of the first right-hander. Just mixing around with the ERS settings as well. See, a lot of drivers use 3, 4 and 5 on this lap. Most of the circuits we go to, it's either 4 or 5. You'll see some drop down to 3, certainly around in sector 2 as well. We can sort of get away with it and save a little bit. You don't want to be running out of ERS deployment halfway up, running up this hill to the line, because all that time you gained you'll immediately lose. You've certainly got enough to get to the line. So Ollie will cross it now. P14 it was, and he just manages to sneak inside the top 10, pushing Larkin down into 11th, but only by 2 hundredths, and that will be Ollie's session over unless he manages to get round in time and save enough ERS. So just about P10 at the moment for Ollie. Where's Scott in this? He's invalidated, so he's now on a fuel save ERS save lap to try and go again. Skeven, and he now starts his final flying lap. Harry back into the pits. His session is over. White Fountain should have enough time to get through. Hamilton has started his flying lap. Louis is back out there as well. Thomas, he's 7 hundredths down on his previous best. He's only a tenth away from Louis, so usually we'll see Louis dominate in qualifying. He'll be 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths clear of whoever's in second place. But being such a short lap round here, gives these drivers an opportunity to qualify ahead of the Williams driver. Skeven, then he has made a mistake and has retired from the qualifying session. Same for Westy and Harry as well. Let's see what Thomas's sector 2 time is going to be like. It needs to be up. And I think he's backed off. He has backed off then, so he obviously wasn't confident on that lap. Tried to save as much ERS as possible, and Thomas will go again. So where's Louis and all this? He's still coming around sector 1. Midnight is, where is he? Halfway around the final lap as well. Paris as well, I believe. He's halfway around sector 2. Ashbest is just about to come across the line. He should just have enough time here. 7, 6, 5. He's going to be the final car across the line then. So we'll have to remember that. Where's Zach? He's around sector 2 as well, so some of these guys at the front of the field. So Thomas has managed to go again. Here comes Midnight then to complete his qualifying session. He's 3,000s up in sector 2. Will he find any more time? He marginally improves, but it's only good enough for P3. Paris next car across the line. He's got a McLaren ahead of him with Larkin. Paris backs out of it. Larkin comes across the line and pushes his teammate back outside of the top 10. Ash has invalidated, unfortunately, so he will not be improving. Zach across the line straight up into P3. He found a 10th and a little bit more to put that Ferrari into P3. Louis crosses the line. He does improve for 107.136. So Thomas needs the lap of his life here if he's going to get up into pole position. He's a 10th up on his previous best, but he needs to find another 2 on this short run to the line, which is going to be virtually impossible. He's backed out of the ERS as well, so I don't think then that Thomas, he might improve a little bit, but no, he hasn't. It's P2 for him. Ash, best we know, has invalidated. Lakitu gets it up into P8, pushing Westy down into 9th, and I believe that's the qualifying session over. So Louis again deciding to go out there rather than starting at the back. Will start at the very front of the field. Another strong qualifying position from Thomas in the Alfa Romeo, and Zach getting it up into P3. So the final qualifying session of the season sees Louis take yet another pole position, a 107.136, almost 3 tenths clear of Thomas, who in turn was almost 3 tenths clear of Zach in the Ferrari. So Louis and Thomas could have a nice little battle in this race. Midnight P4, he needs a 7th or an 8th and fastest lap to get the 3rd place in the standings. Cohen in 5th, a fantastic performance from Cohen in the Toro. So Paris in 6th on the return, Ash Best in 7th, Lakitu, Westy and Larkin completes the top 10. And we've got Ollie Flavel in 11th, Scott Bugner in 12th on a 108.129. Skeven struggling in 13th. Harry and Hamilton 14th and 15th for the Haas team. And bringing up the rear is White Fountain in the Toro. So 16 drivers are going to tackle 36 laps here at Brazil. I'm going to take a very short break and I'll be back with you guys during the formation lap. So the drivers then light up their rear tyres as they pull away from the grid boxes. Ollie Flavel has just come on stream to say him and his teammate were 0.0001 second apart, so 1,000th of a second separated the two McLaren drivers. And Skeever's also coming to say his setup apparently has reset. I'm not too sure how you'd be able to work out how your setup has reset. I know you'd be able to look when you... Yeah, sorry, my bad. So Skeever then, with a lorry load of trouble to end his difficult season, has now got to do this the hard way with a default setup around Brazil, which not too bad. I mean, you could have a default setup at worse tracks. So yeah, Skeever then in 13th has the default setup reset back onto his car. So we'll bring up then the tyre graph. There we go. And as I always say, if it's a dry qualifying and a dry race, the tyres that you set your lap time on, if you qualify inside the top 10, are the ones that you have to start the race on. So everyone inside the top 10, starting on the used set of soft tyres. We've got Skeeven in 13th and White Fountain in 16th that have elected to start on the mediums. So pretty much soft, medium, soft, I think will be the way to go for these guys. I'll be expecting a majority to do 2 stints in the softs and only 1 on the mediums. Don't be surprised to see a virtual safety car or a real safety car, and if it does come out on track at some point in this race, if it does of course, don't be surprised to see a few drivers dip their way into the pits to change strategy. So Louis then brings the field around now. White Fountain propping up the rear again. He'll be hoping for a clean race, hopefully pick up a point or 2. His teammate Cohen has put himself in a great position up in 5th place, and Skeeven then has decided to crash on the formation lap, so that's champion material right there, my friend, as the rest of the field now slowly filter their way back onto the grid for the final run then this season on F1 2019 as well. I think the hype is already coming in then for 2020, which will drop in a matter of weeks. And here we go then. Final car is taking up position. Louis on the left, Thomas on the right. I'll be expecting these two to slowly pull away, but look for carnage and contact in turns 1, 2, 3 and 4. And for the final time this season in One Hub Racing, the lights are out and the drivers pull away nicely. Louis then will try to get over to the inside to block Thomas. Indeed, he does it nice and early as well. What's happening further back? Zach's on the outside. Midnight will give him a bit of a love tap. We've got a car widely off in the background there. I think it was Hamilton, but the rest of the field's managed to get away well. Cohen, look at that, has made an almighty great start up into P4, and Hamilton immediately leaves the session as well as the rest of the midfield. They all fan and filter out on this run down to turn 4. Are we going to see any more contact? Larkin's dropped towards the back of the field as well, and I think Oliver Flavel's there being pushed off the side of the circuit. We've got Ashbest and Westy fighting over 7th and 8th, watched on eagerly by his teammate Scott Bugner as well, as they all filter their way through the top of the hill here. Skeeven then up into 11th with the default setup as well. Lakito has been dropped down to 12th place. We've got Bugner and Westy fighting here in the left-hander as well. Try not to make any contact. The rest of the field at the front seem to be line astern already, which is good. So the Racing Point 7th and 8th, Paris in 6th, Midnight in 5th, Cohen up into P4, but leading out of Juncal for the first of 36 attempts is Louis. He is pulling Thomas just along with him a little bit as well. Now in the slipstream, Louis just moving over a little bit to try and break that draft as much as he can. And I think Louis and Thomas will slowly pull away a little bit. Zach there maybe coming under attack from Cohen, but Midnight's fancying a move up the inside into turn 1 on the Toro Rosso driver, who does see him, does leave the space, has the inside for turn 2, but Midnight will get a nice little run here through turn 3. Will Cohen defend it? He does. He's driving in the middle of a circuit, so Midnight's got to make 2 decisions here where he's going to put the car. It's up the inside into turn 4. Review shot here. Are we going to see a Toro Rosso on the outside? We're not. Cohen's going to hold this nicely, watched on by Paris in P6 as well. I think there might be a little bit of contact there between the two of them. We've got a Renault off in the background. That's Westy, who's made contact with someone and spun on the exit of turn 4, and Cohen and Midnight are still side by side. This is great. Are they going to keep this up for the entire lap? They've pretty much been this way since running down the back straight to turn 4, and finally Midnight manages to get the move complete. Will Cohen think about a move up the inside? He doesn't, but he gets a love tap from Paris behind, who barges him out the way, and the Mercedes driver then pushing his way through into P5, but Cohen's still there on the inside. Please don't tag him if you can. Cohen falls back in line in P6. So Hamilton's left the session. I'm not too sure what happened. He dove straight off the circuit at 2-1 and immediately disconnected. Westy has had a spin and Larkin has pitted to fix damage. New fastest lap for Louis into lap 3 already. DRS is now enabled. Up the inside comes Cohen again on Paris Burrell, and I think Ashbest is looking on with this as well. And this is going to be good for Ash. She's going to be able to get a double slipstream here. More contact between the two of them. They're stuck inside each other. And Paris, oh, contact between the two of them, and Cohen, how he didn't spin that car, I don't know, but he's lost 2 positions into the racing points, and he's being bullied out of the way as well. Harry's watching on with bated breath to try and get himself up there. Westy pulls into the pits and retires early on, so we've lost 2 drivers already, and poor old Cohen has been bullied off the circuit here. These racing points, they do race together quite nicely, very even on pace. The hand of rage comes up from Cohen then, showing his displeasure at Scott Buckner's attempted driving, but the racing points up into 7th and 6th. Paris now up into P5. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1 due to the retired car. But at the front, Louis leads almost a second ahead of Thomas, which would be good news for him. And as I expected, them two are starting to pull away. Zach in 3rd already, 3 seconds behind the leading 2. Skeven has lost a couple of positions. I believe he's spun somewhere. And I think Ollie's having a moment as well. Ollie's going very slowly. So I think Ollie and Skeven have tripped over each other. And Ollie's just slow to allow the Alfa Romeo back through. So already we've got some trouble towards the back of the field. Meanwhile, at the front, Louis and Thomas leading away. 3-second time penalty for Midnight for cutting the corner a couple of times already, so that's early. 3 seconds already onto Midnight coming into lap 4. It's quite easy to pick up warnings and penalties around this circuit. But Paris has dropped off the back of the Red Bull now, and he's pulling both of the racing points along with him quite nicely. Cohen's hanging on bravely in P8. And then we've got Lakitu and Harry rounding out the top 10. White Fountain up into 11th from 16th. So we'll bring up the position changes from the start. Top 4 remain as they qualified. Paris and Ashbest have gained 1 position. The biggest movers, Scott Buckner, he's up 5. Same for White Fountain as well. Harry's also improved his grid position by 4. Obviously Westy has retired. He's lost the most. Larkin has lost 5 positions as well, having to make an early pit stop. So on board with Cohen, who's going to be getting DRS off of Scott Buckner, who's going to be getting DRS off of Ashbest, who's possibly going to be getting, DRS off of Paris ahead. But they're all sort of evenly spread out, so I don't be expecting an overtake anywhere down into turn 1. We've got Harry giving a little bit of pressure to the back of Lakitu, I don't believe had DRS. Got yellow flag in sector 3, that's Skeven going slowly again. He's made contact with the wall and he's probably damaged the front wing, indeed he has. So Skeven then will be straight into the pits. And this driver is finding this evening very, very tough. Off the pace in qualifying, car resets to the default setup on the formation lap, and now he's in the pits early here to fix accident damage. But Louis won't care. He's putting the hammer down a little bit now, trying to bridge some sort of a gap from Thomas behind. But as long as Thomas remains within that second, he'll stay within that second with the help of the DRS. As that continues to fall away, but he's got breathing space over Midnight behind her, and Turn has breathing space over Paris, but Paris has got both the racing points and Curran still hanging on, and it's slowly, I think, bringing Lakitu and Harry into it. The rest of the field all evenly spread out. We've got a full safety car, and Ollie Flavel has crashed, I think, on circuit. We'll jump on board with a disconnected. Yep, there you can see on the left-hand side there. And we'll wait for Larkin to come around as well. He just has to slow down to be inside the Delta. The car's gone now, but Ollie's obviously lost it on exit. And he spun the car to the inside wall, damaged that, and that's a race over for him. So the safety car, is out. What's happened here? Louis overtaken the safety car. Okay, so I think then there's a lot of people are now in the pits. A hell of a lot of people are now in the pits. Everyone managed to take advantage of this. I don't think the top 2 had enough time to get into the pits. So then, yes, look, ignoring yellow flag, Louis been disqualified from the session, and so has Thomas. Well, this is incredible. They both overtook the safety car. Whether the safety car allowed them to pass or not, I don't know. But our top 2 have been disqualified from the race, and that has now completely thrown this race wide open. Louis and wow, yeah, unbelievable. Thomas and Louis both out of this race, disqualified for ignoring yellow flags and overtaking the safety car. White Fountain is going to lead this race as he comes up now behind the safety car. Are we getting a glitch with the safety car? The green light's not on now. I saw when I was on board with both Louis is now in the pits. Louis is now in the pits. What's going on here? Because you can see at the bottom of the standings, ILRT Thomas has been disqualified from the session, but Louis is coming into the pits. Does he have manual control? Is he still in this race? I'm not too sure. I was on board with Louis and both Thomas when they overtook the safety car. The green light was on the safety car. So I'm a little confused here. I'm pretty sure it popped up saying that Louis has been disqualified, but clearly not. And Louis is still continuing on. I swear it popped up. Maybe it was something else, a time penalty or something. But I'm pretty sure I both saw Louis and Thomas be disqualified. Thomas definitely has been disqualified. We know that much. Louis still out in the lead of the race, but White Fountain is in P2 behind the safety car. So I'm a little unsure what's going on here. Louis' car is now pulling over to the side of the circuit and it's ghosted. Has he been disqualified? Has he not? Are we getting a glitch here, which is going to be pretty disappointing? He's now moving over to the side of the circuit. He's allowing the field through. So I'm a bit unsure what's going on here, because I will feel bad for White Fountain if he picks up a time penalty for overtaking Louis, because something clearly has gone a little wrong here. Louis has manual control and he's in P2 and allowed the safety car and White Fountain to pass him. Right, okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. The other thing we've got to talk about then is that White Fountain has not pitted. Everyone else has, apart from Hamilton, who's not in the session. So everyone has made the change from the softs to the medium tyres. Skeven is not in the pits. He's just made a pit stop. Same for Larkin as well. So it is a full reset. The safety car is in at the end of this lap, and I'm just a little bit confused at what's going on. But Louis has put himself back into P2 behind White Fountain, who's going to be, he's going to find the going a little tough here. So White Fountain then is just waiting for the best opportunity to put the hammer down. And the Toro Rosso driver will lead over the line. Whether he'll keep that lead, I don't know. Louis will be all over him. The safety car is off the circuit. We go green flag racing again, and Louis immediately then putting the pressure on the Toro Rosso driver, who's going to find the going tough here with all of these quicker drivers behind on quicker tyres as well. Louis then takes the lead of this race. Paris is out of the race. I'm not too sure what's happened to him. He's, I believe, crashed coming down into turn 1. So we're down to 11 drivers left, and points are plenty for all of these drivers. They can keep going, and White Fountain is hemorrhaging position. Zach up into P2, Midnight up into P3, and you've got Ashbest and Cohen who want to try and find their way past White Fountain, who's very sideways coming through the exit of 4 and through the kink of 5. Everyone else is slowly trying to find themselves a bit of track space. Harry slots into P8 ahead of Skeven. Paris leaves a session. Larkin back there in 10th. Hamilton has left, we know that. Scott Bugner will pass him now into P11. So Louis then leads. Zach now up into P2, Midnight 3rd, White Fountain still in 4th. Here's come to Ashbest up the inside. It is an overtaking opportunity, but you need to be close to that car in front and have full faith that he sees you sending it up the inside. And I don't think White Fountain will hold his teammate up too much. Cohen runs just a little wider through Mugulio. And now onto the main straight, very snap sideways oversteer as well. And he's got to be careful because Lakitu is right up behind him. So Cohen then might feel the need to defend the inside on the run to turn 1, but Lakitu, he defends the inside, so Lakitu to the outside. And be careful to not snatch a break and cream into the back of poor old White Fountain. He's got the inside for turn 2, but Cohen's going to hang it around the outside if he can. Now the inside for turn 3. And Cohen's got to be careful because there's a hard driver just there. That's Harry, just on the outside. Oh, a little bit of contact there between the two of them, I think. And Cohen and Harry again, more contact, and Harry's off the circuit. Harry's been forced off the circuit there. We'll rejoin just in front of Larkin. And I think he might just drop behind the McLaren driver coming up the hill then to the double right-hander. Nope, Harry manages to keep that position. So Larkin slots back into P10, Bugner then. He's at the back in 11th. Hamilton is a non-runner. So lap 9 of 36, plenty has happened already. And Louis then, I thought he'd been disqualified. Clearly he hasn't. Now holds a 1.5 second lead over Zach, pulling Midnight along nicely in 3rd. Ash now up into P4, and White Fountain hanging on to P5 very nicely. He was always going to lose a couple of positions at the start, certainly to the likes of Louis, Zach and Midnight. But he's holding on to that P5 nicely, but he might be under threat here from Lakitu. DRS is now enabled. And Lakitu will try this round the hard way into turn 1, but he'll have the inside for 2. Which is obviously what he's after. He takes that position. And White Fountain down to 6. Oh, and what's this? White Fountain got very out of shape through turn 3. And poor old Cohen there had nowhere to go and nearly got forced off the circuit by his own teammate. And Skeven says thank you very much and benefits 2 positions. And you've got Harry in the background as well. He's going to try and force his way through past White Fountain. Larkin might try it as well. And poor old White Fountain got very out of shape there coming through turn 3. Cone was on his outside and almost got forced off the circuit. And Skeven says, thank you, I'll take 2 positions in 1 corner. So the default setup running Alfa Romeo now up into P6. He'll be giving chase to Nikita ahead in 5th. The top 4 have started to pull away. Whilst all this battling has been going on further back in the midfield. And White Fountain is off strategy. Skeven is as well, slightly running on those soft tyres. Everyone else pretty much running the same strategy at the moment, pitting under the safety car on lap 6 or 7, wherever it was, would have been the right call to make, considering you're all starting on the soft tyres. New fastest lap for Louis, 110.192. As Harry gives chase to Cohen ahead. Might try a fancy move up the inside. Cohen defends late. Harry to the outside around turn 1. Hopefully no contact this time. I think there's damage on the front of Cohen's Toro Rosso there. We'll have to have a closer look at it. I thought I saw an end plate missing. Nope, he seems okay. So Cohen then just hanging on to that P7 at the moment. He'd like to end this season with a good haul of points. And to be honest, one more retirement and it'll be a case of if you finish, you will score. So Toro Rosso looking good to at least get 1 driver in the points. Hamilton, you can see there, is technically still running in 12th, but he went off the circuit at turn 1 on lap 1 and immediately left the session. Not too sure what happened with that. Hopefully we might be able to get an update on why that happened. We've lost Paris. He crashed, I think, turn 1, maybe contact with someone just after the safety car. Ollie crashed halfway around the lap, and that was what brought out the safety car. Westy retired in the pits. Thomas overtook the safety car and got disqualified. Cohen very deep through Juncao. This is going to give Harry an excellent opportunity with the slipstream and the DRS as well. The line is just there, takes the inside line. Don't think Cohen can do anything about this. Larkin is too far back. So a simple move from Harry there up the inside into P7. Lakita and Skeven are exchanging positions. Skeven moving up through the field into P5 now as Harry picks up a 3-second time penalty. So Skeven's got good pace on those soft tyres. They'll already be past their use by date. But he's trying to push as much as he can. He said pre-race comments, he's going to get the elbows out, he's going to be aggressive, he's going to leave no prisoners. If he's got half a chance of an overtake, he's going to go for it. He's got everything to gain and nothing to lose. A little bit sideways there with the oversteer through the double right-hander. We've got White Fountain and Scott Bugner exchanging positions for 10th and 11th. So I think Scott was very close to his teammate, and when they all pitted, when the safety car came out, unfortunately Scott got held in the pits, obviously, which is why he's now back in P11 and his teammate is running up in P4. Lap 12 of 36, 1/3 race distance done. Louis streaking away from midnight in P2, but he's bringing Zach and Ashbest along for the ride. Skeven on the soft tyres, off strategy to everyone else, running very nicely in P5. So running on board with Larkin in P9, watching this nice little battle between Harry and Cohen ahead for 8th and 7th. Scott Bugner has managed to pass White Fountain somewhere on this lap as well to get himself inside the points in P10. So poor old White Fountain has gone from first to last, in theory, in just a handful of laps. So he still has 2 pit stops to complete. Let's have a look out there, see if anyone has managed already to do both of their stops. Yeah, Larkin's already completed 2 stops. He doesn't have to stop again, but he will definitely need to. It's coming up the inside of Harry into turn 1. Nice move with the DRS. Toro Rosso driver has got genuine pace tonight to be battling in, well inside the top 10. Scott Bugner corner cuts his way around the first part of the lap and picks up a 3-second time penalty. Cohen gingerly defends the inside. I think Larkin's out the inside. Indeed he is. Almost a little bit of contact, but space left and respected between the two of them. Harry's still up the inside with a double right-hander, so he's got the preferred line. Larkin backs out, slots back into P9. He might fancy up the inside though. Yeah, he's having half a look, but just not enough space for him to put his car alongside. So this might give Cohen a little bit of breathing space, as Harry's mirrors are going to be full of orange and blue. And Cohen will continue on in P7. Lakitu still sticking with Skeven for now. In the top 4 meanwhile, well, Louis on his own, almost 5 seconds clear now of Midnight. We've still got Zach and Ashbest hanging on nicely, using the DRS to stay with the Red Bull driver. And Midnight doing everything right at the moment to consolidate or jump up into P3 in the final standings, which I think he'll look back on as a job well done. No driver this season has really had the pace to challenge Danny or Louis, so P3 is really the best of the rest, and Midnight has done a very solid job throughout the season, and I think he will fully deserve taking the bronze medal in the driver standings here in the Pinnacle tier. So we'll be expecting a pit stop from Skeven soon, onto the medium tyres, which will probably take to the end. But these guys in the mediums, will be a while yet until we see them back into the pits. They're just getting into a rhythm now, looking after the tyres, managing the ERS, making sure they have enough fuel, certainly to get to the end. You can save quite a lot of fuel around here, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem for these guys. So is Zach any close enough to potentially challenge Midnight on the run to the line? He's got DRS, of course. He's gaining all the time, but he's nowhere near. He might fancy his chances down into turn 4 if Midnight has a poor exit through the first 3 corners. Short shifting up into P4 as well to kill the rear wheel spin. Skeven in 5th picks up a time penalty. And Zach isn't close enough, neither is Ashbest. Further back, Makitu's not close enough to Skeven. So we've got a battle with 2nd, 3rd and 4th. We've got a little battle with 5th and 6th. Then we've got 7th, 8th and 9th together as well. So we're not getting the train that we sometimes see around Brazil, but we are certainly getting a few little battles there to keep our eye on. Scott Bugner, for whatever reason, not really able to close up. That would be the reason why. I've just noticed he's got a damaged front wing. And Skeven picks up a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. Wow, that's a hefty penalty there. So Skeven then starting to struggle, I think, on those soft tyres. As he just dips a wheel on the grass, runs a little wide, and he's now starting to slowly fall into the clutches of those trio of cars behind. So Skeven then has, I think, at least 8 seconds worth of penalties. That's not going to help him at the end of this race. And I think those soft tyres are slowly coming to the end of their life now. 11 laps, 12 laps completed once he crosses the line. I wouldn't be surprised to see Skeven duck off to the left hand side, come into the pits. No, he's going for another lap. Skeven then starting to struggle with those soft tyres. Jump on board with Cohen in the Toro Rosso. And you can see that Alfa Romeo slowly inching closer and closer. Got a car in the pit lane, that'll be White Fountain for his first pit stop. And he'll join, well, in 11th, but a long way back, unfortunately. He'll need another safety car, really, to catch back up. But another retirement, he'll be in the points. And White Fountain really has struggled this season. He's got 1 single point so far to his name. And I think he would have been hoping for more. But he knew coming into this that he would struggle. And that's certainly what has happened. And it's unfortunate for White Fountain. Someone has to be last. Someone has to be last, and unfortunately it's him. So coming in, oh, very sideways McGee through the right-hander, pushing the limits that those tyres can handle. As you can see, that Skeven is slowly starting to creep into him, and he might, oh, if it wasn't for that, he might have had DRS, and Ashbest has managed to get past Zach into P3 very early on as well, actually. I can only assume that Zach made a mistake through Junkao. Ashbest locks up the left front, and Skeven, this lap, decides to pit off of those soft tyres. He'll go on to probably a set of mediums now, and he'll carry them to the end of the race. So Skeven's still got a good chance for a handful of points, but he'll have to look after those medium tyres. So Ash then up into P3. And we saw then that Zach was comfortable behind Midnight, but couldn't really put any pressure on. So now can the Racing Point start to put some pressure on the Red Bull ahead in P2. Meanwhile, the gap between first and second now up to 6.5 seconds. So Louis is just streaking away into the distance at this point. And Skeven comes out of the pits a few seconds ahead of White Fountain. on the medium tyres, which Skeven will attempt to carry now to the end of the race. Should be able to, half race distance now. And the gap between Ashbest and Midnight is not good enough for the racing point. It needs to be under a second, not over a second. The DRS detection is just crossing over the line now. And Ash is not within that window, but Zach is. But I don't think he's close enough to come back at the racing point down into turn 1. Further back, Lakitu now on his own in P5. Cohen still going in 6, but here comes Harry with the DRS up the inside from the Haas driver. Jump on board with Larkin to see how this move is finished. Harry there, a little deep into turn 1. Oh, contact between all three of them. I think Cohen made contact with the back of Harry, and in turn Larkin had nowhere to go and just gave a love tap to the back of a Toro Rosso. Now Harry's now through in 6, but here's Larkin up the inside of Cohen. Cohen momentarily pulling ahead there, being in the slipstream from Harry ahead. He's at the outside line. He's got to give him the space. Don't give him too much of a squeeze because the McLaren is still there. And now Cohen has the preferred inside line for the double right-hander, and again Larkin has to back out of it. So Cohen's getting his elbows out. Unfortunately, poor old Scott Bugner would like to be a part of this, but 3-second time penalty won't help. And that damaged front wing as well, he's going to carry to his second pit stop. So a nice little battle here, 6th, 7th and 8th between these guys. And Skeven will be hoping that they continue to lose time, and Skeven can, when all these guys pit, that Skeven remains in front of them. Further up then, Lakitu we know is on his own. Zach still giving chase to Ashbest, but he can do nothing about the racing point in the moment, and the gap between him and Midnight is still roughly the same, just agonisingly over a second. And our race leader Louis continues to pull away. And he's been the class of the field this season. An early season battle with Danny Moreno. They exchanged positions on track and both picked up wins and podiums. But then unfortunately mid-race, or mid-season I should say, Danny didn't show for a race. And that allowed Louis an easy run to the line. And that pretty much put an unassailable gap between the two of them. It was around about 45 points, something like that, 4 races left. And it was at that point a matter of when, not if, Louis is crowned as our season's champion. That happened last week. And now Louis is here to notch up another win, another W onto his record for one hub. And he's doing everything right at the moment. Now 7 seconds clear. At 21 of 36. Midnight comfortable in P2. He's slowly starting to pull away from Ashbest actually. A couple of attempts here and there. Zach still nicely in that DRS as well. Lakitu in 5th, all on his own. He'll be fine with that. Harry now clear in 6th as well. Cohen has dropped back a second and a half. So the Haas has got some good pace. And Larkin fancying possibly a move up the inside. No. And Larkin has damage on that front wing as well. So the fact that he can stay with Cohen with that damage on the front left, you can see there the end plate's missing. Is not an easy thing to do. So fair play to Larkin for still having the pace to pressurise Cohen for P7. Scott we know in 9th has got damage on the front wing. I think Skeven should be okay anyway. He recently made a pit stop onto the medium tyres. And White Fountain as well. Just a few seconds back on the softs. He still needs to make a second pit stop. Most of the field, I believe, still need to make their second pit stop. Larkin will be in for the 3rd time. That's for sure. Skeven we know won't need to stop again unless he has an issue with those medium tyres or he damages his car. So Skeven's still got a good chance of good points. Possibly looking at P6, I reckon. P6 for Skeven. Maybe P5 if Lakitu's pace drops off a little bit. The race with so few people now left in it. We only started with 16, we're left with 11. Hamilton left the session early on. But his ghosted car is still going round. And you do get a little bit of a field spread. And Larkin with that damaged front wing there. He's doing a good job. Hanging on to the back of Cohen. So we know that Louis on his own. Midnight's comfortable. Ashbest and Zach are together. Lakitu's on his own. Cohen. Harry's on his own. Cohen and Larkin are having a nice little battle over 7th and 8th as well. So not a lot of action out there, unfortunately. Kind of need another safety car really, with about, I don't know, lap 29, I think, a safety car. Hello to Danestar and Compassion as well on stream, saying hello, good evening, thank you for dropping in. The final race this season, final race on this game as well. And it's been a good season. It's been good to get to know these drivers as well, their strengths and weaknesses, and see some of them improve as the season goes on. We've seen some drivers leave, of course. Midnight with a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Now, I don't think he'll be serving it here, so I think that'll be 5 seconds added on. Yep, indeed, he didn't serve it. So Midnight in for the soft tyres, so he's gone soft, medium, soft. Cohen, Larkin and Scott Bugner now in, so the second round of pit stops are now due. And Midnight already, I believe, has a time penalty for exceeding the track limits, and he'll have 5 seconds added on to his race time at the conclusion of this race, because he has a 5-second stop-go penalty, but he won't be serving that, so he won't be in the pits again. So Cohen onto the soft tyres. There's his Scott Bugner, who would have fixed that front wing, same for Larkin as well. So soft, medium, soft for these guys. And they'll have to nurse these softs to the end a little bit. There's 13, 14 laps that they'll have to do on these tyres, so they will be struggling for grip from about lap 33, 34 onwards. Skevinen has managed to get the jump again on Cohen and Larkin, but he's on the medium tyres and these guys are on the softs. We'll be expecting some more guys in. Ashbest and Zach both into the pits. Lakitu and Harry have carried on. In fact, now Harry's in the pits as well, so these guys should be making a change onto the soft tyres as well. Will Zach get the jump on the racing point? He did not. No, so Ash does manage to stay ahead. And Midnight manages to get ahead of him as well, and now he's got to bridge some sort of a gap here if he wants to keep hold of that P2. Louis, I'm sure, will be in the pits at the end of this lap. Lakitu as well, out of position. He's yet to make his second stop. So there's Midnight then. He's managed to extend the gap a little bit by pitting a lap earlier. Now over 3 seconds ahead of Ashbest. Skeven another penalty as Harry now in the pits, or out of the pits I should say, in P6. Here comes Skeven now. He just manages to, or Harry I should say, just manages to stay ahead. But he's on the soft tyres, he'll be able to pull away I think now. Skeven might have his mirrors full of Cohen and Larkin at some point as well. White Fountain up into P10. But he still needs to make his second pit stop. So Scott will find himself back inside the top 10 at some point. And we know that Hamilton has left. So Louis Vent, he's going for another lap here. So Keto into the pit, slow the car down. Just manages to do it in time. Should be able to rejoin somewhere between his teammate and Harry. But Louis Vent, good tyre wear life on this Williams. There's Midnight, a 109.614. He retakes P2. Ash and Zach will retake 3 and 4. Lakitu should comfortably drop back into P5 ahead of Harry. And just behind him you've got Skeven and Cohen. And Cohen will be looking to put the pressure on the Alfa Romeo driver as much as he can to try and make these soft tyres work. And Cohen went purple in sector 3 as well. So good pace again with the Toro Rosso. Lakitu has rejoined comfortably in P5. Up the inside, the Toro Rosso driver goes. Skeven will make life difficult. But they'll give each other the space, respect being shown. And now Cohen, who's usually found himself on the inside, and Skeven backs out of it straight away. I was going to say, Cohen's found himself on the inside when he's been battling cars through that double right-hander, and this time he was on the outside, but Skeven backed out of it. Probably knows discretion is the better part, and he needs to nurse these mediums home a little bit. White Fountain, I believe, has picked up a time penalty for exceeding track limits. And Louis then does finally make his final pit stop. We will join comfortably in the lead of this race. 10 laps to go. It's now a sprint for these guys to the finish. Midnight sets a new fastest lap, a 109.573. So the Ferrari is that continuing to give chase to the racing point of Ash. He wants that final podium spot. Penalties could change it as well. These guys being so close together. I think both of them kept it clean so far. As far as I know, Ash might have 3 seconds, but I'm not 100% convinced that he has. So this could be a genuine dogfight between the two of them. Midnight continuing to pull away. He needs multiple seconds. Louis then, our race leader, picks up his first 3-second time penalty. Midnight has at least 5 seconds. I'm pretty sure he might have another 3 on top of that. So Ash and Zach then duking it out for the final podium spot. Lakitu will have a quiet run, I think, to the line in P5. Same for Harry as well. He's only a second and a bit ahead of Cohen, but I think that gap sort of stabilised between the two of them. Skeevan as well back in 8th, I think, will just be looking to nurse his tyres home and try and stay ahead of Larkin in 9th. We've got White Fountain back here in 10th, but he still needs to make his second pit stop. We'll just double check on the pit stops. Pretty sure that the only one that's left to do it is White Fountain. Hamilton is not running, so don't worry about him. So it looks like that Scott will inherit P10 once White Fountain makes his second and final pit stop, probably in a lap or 2. So as for battles, there's not much going on out there really. It's 3rd and 4th. Louis sets a new fastest lap, a 109.459, so there'll be another championship point going to the Williams driver. So the only one out there really worth keeping on is this one here between Zach and Ash for P3, P4. Everyone else is sort of spread out a few seconds here and there. And it could be a case now, if the lap's running down, the final race of the season, just a case of these drivers just bringing the car home in whatever position they're in to pick up the points. And in the season, on some sort of a high, White Fountain in the pits now for the second time, so that has promoted Scott back up inside the points. But I don't think he will be able to do anything more than P10. He would have been hindered badly in the pits when everyone pitted under the safety car early on, because he was very close to his teammate who was ahead of him. And obviously you get held in the pits when your teammate's right in front of you, held in the pits again with other people, and a 3-second penalty to Scott Buggin as well certainly won't help his cause. So I think these positions, like I said, they might change due to penalties, but as of now these positions are pretty much locked in. Zach is the only one really that can potentially change it if he gets a good run out of Juncal on Ash Best. Louis sets another fastest lap. I did miss it, but I did see his name pop up. Let me count down the laps here at Brazil, which I always feel should be the final race of the season. Ash is positioning his car nicely. These two very evenly matched on pace. And I think Zach will just be monitoring his fuel loads, his ERS. We might as well bring that up as well just to see what's going on. So you can see there that Zach is ERS saving at the moment because he's getting a nice tow around the circuit from Ash ahead. No point pushing the ERS around here because there's no real valid overtaking opportunities. But the right-hander they're coming up to now, we're seeing overtakes done there in the past, but you have to be a lot closer than this if you're going to pull off that type of a move. Ash also saving ERS and deploying as much as he can down the straight to try and stay ahead of Zach and keep hold of that final podium spot. Larkin, I think, slowly starting to gain on Skeevan. That's for 8th and 9th. And here comes Zach then. This is a decent opportunity here. He just backs out of it. Just wasn't close enough. Another half a car length and he might have sent it. And that wasn't a great exit through turn 2 either, but he might still have half a chance. Down into the braking zone for turn 4, but Ash is too far ahead. And Zach will have to wait for another attempt at the end of this lap. Lakitu in 5th. He's had a quiet race really since the safety car, but I think he'll be happy to just bring it home for a good haul of points. 10 points it will be for Lakitu. Harry in 6th. He's managed to stabilise that gap between Cohen, who's going to be very, very happy with 7th. Possibly, I believe, that his best result of the season. He's Cohen at the moment currently sitting on where is he? He's sitting on 5 points, isn't he? And you get 6 for 7th, so this will be the best result of the season for both Cohen and the team as a whole if he can hold on to his P7. And he has been quick tonight, qualified inside the top 5, was running 4th early on, got bullied out of the way down into 8th, but has come back into P7. He's keeping Harry honest as well. He's found a couple of attempts this lap. I don't think Skeevan is going to be challenging too much behind, but Larkin is oh so close now to the DRS, but we've got to keep an eye on this one here because Zach is again close to Ash Best. Is he too far away down into turn 4? I believe he is. We'll come back to Larkin, and he's almost in DRS range from Skeevan ahead, who's battling an Alfa Romeo that's on used set of medium tyres that he's got to run to the end, and with a default setup as well. So the fact that Skeevan is still running fairly competitively in P8 is a good show from him. So he is a quick driver. I've known him for a few years, but unfortunately since joining this tier halfway through the season, he has struggled to find the pace. He's been involved in a few little incidents, either by himself or with other cars. But I think if he manages to just get this car, at this point he just wants to get the car home for some points. But Larkin then gaining on this lap. He's ERS saving as well, as is Skeevan. I think Larkin is slowly about to set himself up for potential overtake. Look at Zach up ahead again momentarily. He's very close this time. This is the closest he's been. And up the inside goes the Ferrari. And Ash is going to hold this around the outside. Now the inside for 2. But he's going to have a poor exit through the long left-hander of turn 3. And this is a great opportunity. Great camera shot here from the overhead helicopter. And Zach is going to have to do this the long way around the outside of turns 4 and 5. Ash will give him a little bit of a squeeze there, run him out of road, and Zach has to hold on to that P4 at the moment. But Zach is starting to turn up the wick and starting to apply more and more pressure to that racing point ahead. Meanwhile, further back, Larkin has managed to pass Skeevan. So we've missed that move, but it was always going to happen. But we have to keep an eye on this one, because unfortunately, with all due respect to Larkin and Skeevan, this one is a bit more important. This is for the final podium spot in the final race of the season. And Zach ran. You can see both his cars now. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. That Skeevan has had a moment somewhere. He has managed to rejoin the circuit, but he would have added a bit more wear to those already knackered medium tyres. And here comes Zach again. He's close already, so I think we might see another move. It could be a late dive bomb into turn 1. Does Ash Best defend? He doesn't. Zach up the inside again. Let's wait for the camera to change. Ash has got the best line into 2, but he gives him a poor exit through 3, and Zach is very, very close this time. Ash will have to defend this. He'll have to stick to the left-hand side. Makes his move clear, and again Zach will have to do this around the hard way. Second bite of the cherry, second lap in a row now. This time Ash can't run him out of room because he is side by side, and Zach is momentarily ahead here. We'll jump on board with Ash if we can, just to see what's going to happen here. Zach's got the inside. Now is he going to give the Racing Point driver a bit of a squeeze coming into the tight right-hander? And Ash has got to send it here. He's got to stay at the inside. The lefts and the rights, one moment you're at an advantage, and next it's a disadvantage. These two are changing positions. They've been side by side since pretty much turn 1, and Zach finally manages to get the move complete. Ash will not be happy with that, but he's going to have an opportunity to get back at the Ferrari driver. This is not over yet. This is not over yet. A couple of laps left to go, but Zach got a great exit through Juncal there, using up as much of his ERS as possible. Ash has almost twice as much at this point, so we can probably push it a little bit more. They both seem okay on fuel, and I think never Ash has got a slightly better top speed as well. We saw 208 there from the Racing Point. Zach is so good through turns 1, 2 and 3. Ash can just do nothing about it, and Zach might just have enough here. He might just have enough to withstand another attack, or an attack from Ash Best. And you could see a Ferrari on the podium. So further down, the key to we know is safe and secure in P5. The same for Harry in 6, who continues to find a couple of attempts here and there over Cohen in 7. But Larkin is giving a bit of a chase. The gap is now down to 2 seconds between Cohen and Larkin. Now the McLaren driver has managed to dispose of Skeevan, who's just hanging on at this point now for P9. Same for Bugnet in 10th. It's been a lonely second half of the race for the Racing Point driver, but at least he'll bring the car home and pick up the final championship point. White Fountain, as it stands, will still score a championship point, because One Hub offered the unique rule with, of course, if you finish inside the top 10 and set the fastest lap, you get an extra World Championship point. But there's something I like to call Bracket 2, which is for all the classified drivers, and there's only one, and that's White Fountain. Of all the classified drivers from 11th down to whoever is last, if someone in there will set a fastest lap as well, and they claim an extra championship point. It does take a little bit of working out to work out who's got it, because it isn't clear to us. It doesn't pop up on the screen, obviously, so you've got to look at the classification at the end of the race. But safe in the knowledge for White Fountain is, as long as he finishes, he will score one championship point, even with 11th place, because he's the only one classified outside the top 10, so he's the only one that can set the fastest lap. So White Fountain will score his second championship point of the season, and I think for the first time this season we'll have both Toro Rossos technically scoring points, and that'll be a good end to the season for them, considering they've struggled so much this year. They really have been off the pace. Certainly for White Fountain, he has been at the back pretty much for every race. Cohen has flirted every now and again with a top 10 finish, and he has picked up 5 points this season, but this has certainly been the best performance so far from Cohen this season. Louis then now starts his final lap. He's been completely unchallenged since the safety car. Thomas did give a little bit of pressure in the initial laps that I would have expected, but unfortunately the safety car, I don't know if it was a glitch with Thomas or with the safety car, but both Louis and Thomas passed it, and Thomas was disqualified from the race. But as for Louis, since the safety car has disappeared, he's managed to pull away from Midnight, and he's continuing to do so. The gap is now up to just over 12 seconds. Further behind this, I am looking at the interval times. Ash is still applying pressure to Zach ahead for P3, but I think the Ferrari has done enough to claim the final podium spot. And Louis, all he's got to do now is just keep accelerating to the line. It's another dominant display, another race win, and our championship winner ends the season in style with P1 and the fastest lap. A great performance as well from Midnight. He knew coming in tonight that Rafa wouldn't be here. He knew a P7 or 8th and fastest lap will see him take third in the championship standings, and he's done everything right with P2. He might drop down into P3, even P4 once Zach crosses the line. Indeed he does. Zach takes P2. Ash does get back onto the podium with P3. Midnight's penalties undone all of his hard work, but Midnight still takes third in the Drivers' Championship. The rest of the runners slowly coming across the line. Lakitu ends his season with a P5. Cohen in 6th in the end. Harry had penalties. Cohen's best result of the season and the team's best result as well. Cohen will be absolutely delighted with P6. Harry then down into P7. Larkin classified in 8th. Skeven 9th. Scott crashing over the line in P10. And we just await White Fountain to drag that Toro Rosso home. I believe he's had a spin somewhere as well on this final lap. But White Fountain then will score a championship point with the fastest lap for those classified outside of the top 10, being the only driver outside the top 10. Hamilton still running, but he left the session very early on. And White Fountain there just weaving from side to side, whether it's just to say goodbye and thank you for a season in the top tier, or to just say thank you for allowing me to pick up the final championship point. Sliding his way across the line, and that brings the season to a close. So congratulations to Louis, ending the season how he wanted to, with pole position, the race win and the fastest lap. Congratulations to Zach and Ash. Good spirited battle there towards the end for the final podium spot. Both have been rewarded with the podium. Zach in P2, Ash in 3rd. Midnight crossed the line in 2nd, but too many penalties, including that 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, drops him down to P4, but still moves up and classified 3rd in the final championship standings. So the final runners then, Lakitu with a quiet run in the end with P5. Cohen across the line, a fantastic result for him considering all things standing, with 6th place. Harry in 7th, Larkin in 8th, Skeven 9th, Scott Bugner in 10th, White Fountain in 11th, a long way back, picks up a point for the fastest lap in bracket 2, and I think his left to right weaving there is just being told to me White Fountain is retiring from all games. He's mentioned it before that he would not be buying a new game, he will not be league racing, he's had enough. So his final race then before White Fountain retires, he does score a championship point. So fair play to him for getting it to the end and going off in style with the fastest lap for bracket 2. So we're now back to the lobby then, and it's just the final thing for me then is to come up with my Driver of the Day nominations. Being a solo commentator, it's my responsibility to come up with both of the nominations, which will be released by the One Hub Twitter page in the next couple of days. All you guys and girls can go in there and vote for which one you think is deserving of the Driver of the Day result. There's a few nominations out there. Louis, yes, pole, win, fastest lap. He always has a go at me if I don't nominate him for it. So usually we do give it to the race winner, because yeah, I mean, the best driver in the day won the race, so you should be driver of the day maybe, but I don't know. But you look at Cohen as well. Yes, he went backwards in the race, started 5th, finished 6th, but I wouldn't have expected Cohen to be that high up coming into Brazil. Maybe it's a favourite track for him, maybe in effect there's a few less drivers here tonight benefited him, but it was still a very, very good run from Cohen as well. Zach and Ashbest had very strong races. White Fountain picks up a point even though he finishes in last. So Harry as well, I think, had a very, very strong one as well. So I think Louis will get one of the votes, so we'll give it to Louis. The second one as well, it's a difficult one really. I do want to give it to Cohen, but it's a bit weird giving Driver of the Day nomination to someone who technically went backwards in the standings, qualified 5th, finished in 6th. Tempted to give it to White Fountain as its final ever race, but yeah, I'm a bit unsure really. I think Harry had a good race as well. But I think I'll go for Zach. I think I'll go for Zach, which is a bit of a curveball, because him and Ash Best had very, very similar pace. Ash managed to get past Zach with several laps to go, but Zach managed to hang on, use his tyres and his DRS well, managed to apply enough pressure to the racing point, and a good move finally in the end to get him up into P2. So the two drivers that finished 1st and 2nd are going to be my nominations, but certainly shout outs to both the Toro Rosso drivers for a double points finish, and the other drivers I mentioned as well. Finally from me then, as it's the final race of the season, I just want to say thank you to the league and the admins and coordinators and the owners for allowing me the opportunity for a second season to be the solo commentator for the highest tier. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. I've missed 2 races, one through illness, one through work, but it's been a great pleasure to be here for this shortened season to sing off this season and F1 2019 in style. Thank you very much obviously to the drivers as well. I've got to know a lot of them quite well this season. It's been fun commentating on them as well, and it's been a pleasure being here every Friday night. And finally as well, thank you to each and every single one of you guys that drops in to the stream to get involved, drop comments, watch the stream, even without saying anything. It doesn't matter. The fact you're here means everything to us. Likes, shares and subscriptions as well to the YouTube channel as well. It helps the league to grow. The league's doing a fantastic thing as well. You know, at the beginning of the season there was a lot of talk on Twitter, as well, about bringing in the new basically pay to race, the £5 for the season, £5 or £10 for the season, and it's been come forward with mixed reviews, but I think it was a fantastic idea from the league to help generate some more money. You have to remember, this money that the drivers pay to race doesn't just go in the owner's pocket and then you can go out on a Friday night and buy a load of beer with it. It gets invested back into the league. It gets invested into the YouTube channel, the website as well. It also helps with the fact that the championship winners in both the drivers and the constructors championships actually get trophies. You get an actual trophy sent to you that you can hold. So this money gets developed back into the league to help it expand and grow into a fantastic league, and I've thoroughly enjoyed myself being here for this season. Next season, don't know. Discussions haven't started yet. No point discussing it yet because the new game isn't out. Hopefully I can come back. We'll have to see what happens in the future with my own personal life and what happens with the league. But for this season, I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. So thank you to each and every single one of you for tuning into the stream, and hopefully I'll see you for season 16 on F1 2020.